Hi friends, how much cash do you have in your bank account right now? 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh? You might be holding this cash because you might need this cash, let's say in the next few months. Maybe because you are waiting to buy your house, or maybe because you're waiting for stock market to correct so that you can buy the market dip. Whatever is your reason, if you're leaving cash in your bank account, you are making a very big mistake. This is because if you, for example, have a look at SBI, State Bank of India, they are only giving 2.50% of annual interest rate on the savings bank account. HDFC, if you look at, they are giving only 2.50%. The point is simple. The interest rate on your savings bank account, you only get between 2 to 3%. And the irony is that if you look at the inflation data in India, last 10 years of historical data is what you see on my screen, anywhere between 3 to 8% is where inflation has persisted for a long period of times. Even if I only consider 5% average inflation rate, every single day your money lying in the bank account is losing value. Why? Because of inflation. So is there a better option to manage your cash? Yes, absolutely. Liquid mutual funds are your best friends when it comes to managing your cash that you might need in a very short time period. Why? Two main reasons. Reason number one is that historically it has given far better returns than savings bank account. For example, in the last 3 years, if you go and look at the returns, you will find that they have given around 6 to 7% annual returns. And reason number two is that whenever you need money out of your liquid mutual funds, you can withdraw this money very quickly as within 1 working day. These two reasons make liquid mutual funds a very good alternative to keeping your money only in the savings bank account. But there are a lot of questions around liquid mutual funds. For example, question number 1, are liquid mutual funds actually safe? Second, how do we go about comparing 40 plus liquid mutual funds and choose the right mutual fund for our own investments? And number 3, what are the taxations around liquid mutual funds? All of this I am going to cover in this video, and I promise to you that if you watch this video without skipping, you are going to become a pro investor when it comes to liquid mutual funds. With that, shall we get this video cracking? Let's go. So let's start with question number 1. Are liquid mutual funds actually safe or not? For that, if you go to MFI's website and if you read the definition of liquid mutual funds, by very own nature of liquid mutual funds, they were created to generate optimum returns while maintaining safety and high liquidity. So they are considered very safe debt mutual funds. Why? Mainly because if you look at where they invest, for example, if I show you this screen here, this is just an example or a sample liquid mutual fund. What you see here is that liquid mutual fund invest in debt instruments, for example, certificate of deposit, commercial paper, treasury bill. These are the assets where the liquid mutual funds actually invest. And secondly, liquid mutual funds will only invest in those assets, for example, certificate of deposit, commercial paper, etc., which gets matured within the 91 days, meaning the risk of debt rate is also very low here because they are investing in shorter duration assets. Secondly, if you also see the rating allocation of these debt instruments, for example, here they mainly invest in high credit rating debts, for example, sovereign, which is the government backed, or AAA equivalent. So here the credit rating is also very high, meaning the risk in liquid mutual funds is relatively very low as compared to even normal debt mutual funds. Now comes the second question, which is extremely important. How do we go about comparing various liquid mutual funds? So what you see on my screen is I've gone to Pixabay, a free website that you can use to compare any mutual funds that you like. And I filtered these mutual funds out by all the liquid mutual funds only, and I get around 40 plus results. Now we need to find out which are good liquid mutual funds. And typically what I've seen is people will look at, first of all, returns. How much of historical returns a liquid mutual fund has given? I don't think that's a good parameter when it comes to liquid mutual funds, because we are not here to generate huge returns. We are here to look out for number 1, liquidity, and number 2, safety. And then comes the third factor, which is the optimum returns. Because if you look at the returns, one liquid fund might have given you 6.10%, another might have given you 6.20%. So returns are not the differentiating factor here, or rather the first parameter that we should consider. I would rather look at liquidity and safety. So looking at these 40 mutual funds, how do we go about looking at the liquidity? For that, first parameter that we are going to look at is asset under management, AUM. Now, higher the asset under management, better it is in case of liquid mutual funds. Why? Because in liquid mutual funds, all of a sudden what happens is that there might be a request for redemption. For example, if I show you this data here, in the month of June 2025, all of a sudden 81,000 crores were pulled out of liquid mutual fund plus overnight mutual funds. And if you read this article, what you will find is that the main reason was because it was the quarter end and people had to make their advanced tax payments or the balance sheet adjustments. And these investors or corporates or whoever these people were, they wanted the money to come out of the liquid mutual funds. Typically, people keep the money in liquid mutual funds because they are getting higher returns, better returns than leaving the money in the bank accounts. So all of a sudden, when you see there is a huge request for redemption, the liquid mutual funds that have higher asset under management, these liquid mutual funds understand how to deal with some tricky situations like this when there is all of a sudden request for a huge redemption. So in my view, higher the AUM, better it is. So what we are going to do here is that we are going to look at only those liquid mutual funds that have got more than 20,000 crore of AUM. So for that, what I'm going to do is go here and simply type here 20,000. So 20,000 and more is what we are interested in. And this way we only get 9 liquid mutual funds at the time of recording this video. I do not know when you're watching this video. Your data or your list might be very different. None of these are recommendations here. I'm simply teaching you a framework or a method that I personally use, right? So here we got 9 liquid mutual funds. I have arranged them in the descending order of the asset under management. Now comes the second liquidity parameter, which is time since inception, which is how old is this liquid mutual fund? Because here experience matters a lot. As I said, from a liquidity perspective, more experience your liquid mutual fund manager is, better it is because they can navigate through liquidity crunch cycles whenever it comes. So here, if I add time since inception, it tells me how many months this mutual fund is old by. So I'm going to arrange them in the descending order again. So when we see these 9 mutual funds, pretty much they are very old, from 152 months to 155 months. Top 3 are Tata Liquid Mutual Fund, Axis Liquid Mutual Fund, ICICI Pru, so on and so forth. So these two parameters, which is asset under management and time since inception, gives me quite a good confidence about the liquidity situation of the liquid mutual fund. Now comes the safety parameter, second very important parameter that we need to look at. So from a safety perspective, I would like to add another filter here, which is A-rated bonds proportion or percentage of A-rated bonds in the liquid mutual funds portfolio. What is percentage A-rated bonds? It simply means what proportion of liquid mutual funds asset under management is invested in A-rated bonds. A-rated bonds are, for example, AAA, AA. So AAA, for example, is the highest credit rating a bond can get, right? Higher this proportion is, better this is. Why? This is because liquid mutual fund that is holding higher proportion of A-rated bonds tells me that they have invested in quality bonds. Therefore, safety is very important here for this liquid mutual fund manager. So what we are going to do is add this filter here, and we are going to again sort these in the descending orders. So if I do that, you see on my list now, Axis is number 1, 96% A-rated bonds, followed by SBI at number 2, followed by UTI. Again, we are not going to use one single parameter here. We are going to look at liquidity, we are going to look at safety, we are going to look at returns, and then based on that, we pretty much get idea in terms of which are the top 2 or top 3 liquid mutual funds. So A-rated bond is the parameter that I am using here for safety, and I think that gives me a lot of confidence about liquid mutual funds. Let me now move to returns related parameters or filters. But before I start, please make sure you understand that past returns do not guarantee future returns. Please make sure you understand that. But first filter that I'm going to use here, which is directly going to impact returns, is expense ratio. We all know cheaper the mutual fund is in terms of lower the expense ratio, better it is because you're paying less money to manage your funds. For this expense ratio, if we sort them out, let's say lowest in the top. So if I go by lowest in the top, we will see again here Axis Liquid Mutual Fund as of now is 0.12, followed by UTI at 0.15, Tata 0.20. These are the top 3 in terms of this filter criteria that we are using, right? Now comes the past returns from a CAGR perspective. So 2 filters I'm going to use here. Last 3 years return and last 5 years. Again, these are indicative returns, and as you can see here, both the filters, there are minor differences in the returns, right? For example, if I go and filter these out by CAGR 3 years percentage perspective, Aditya Birla comes at number 1, followed by Axis at number 2, Nippon at number 3. But please understand, in my view, returns, minor differences here and there, this should not be your sole criteria. We need to focus more on liquidity and safety, and at the same time maintain optimum returns. So in these parameters, I have given you top 3 mutual funds. Now comes the last parameter, which is called Sharpe ratio. Sharpe ratio signifies the risk adjusted performance of a mutual fund. For example, you have 2 mutual funds, and if you are taking 1 unit of risk in both of them, the risk is the same, then which mutual fund has given better returns is what we want to find out. And for that, we need to use Sharpe ratio. Higher the Sharpe ratio is, better the risk adjusted returns of that mutual funds are, right? So for example, here I have added Sharpe ratio. Let's again filter them by high to low. And at number 1 here, Axis Liquid Mutual Fund is coming at 6.17 Sharpe ratio, followed by Aditya Birla and Kotak at number 3. We have used these various filters now, and we have looked at these. Out of the 40 mutual funds, we have gone down to 9. And from 9, consistently, if you see, there were mutual funds that were appearing in the top 3 mutual funds from a liquidity perspective, from a safety perspective, from a returns perspective. Now, I do not want to be very biased here. I would like you to watch the last 5 to 7 minutes of this video and have a look at the mutual funds that are consistently coming in top 3. From a liquidity perspective, from a safety perspective, from a returns perspective, because you want to pick a liquid mutual fund that is giving you high liquidity, good safety, and optimum returns. Do not just go by the returns only, because returns is not hugely different here from one liquid mutual fund to another mutual fund. Now, another important point that I want you to understand is that whenever you want to go and invest in liquid mutual funds, and whenever you go to your Demat account, for example, here I've logged into Coin, Zerodha's app that I personally use. And here, if I filter liquid mutual funds, you will note that one AMC has got multiple liquid mutual funds. So for example, Axis has got 3 mutual funds here. One is growth debt liquid mutual fund. Second is IDCW monthly. Third is IDCW weekly. Likewise, UTI has got even more than 3. For example, growth, and then they've got IDCW fortnight, half yearly, interim, monthly, so on and so forth. What is the difference between growth and IDCW? Growth is a very simple one. Let's say you invest 10 lakh rupees in liquid mutual fund. After 6 months, you withdraw your 10 lakh rupees plus interest. Then that is called growth. Because in growth options, your money that you invested continues to grow until you withdraw everything in one go, right? While in case of IDCW, which is income distribution cum withdrawal, you may want to withdraw this money on a set frequency. For example, let's say monthly basis, you want to withdraw part of the capital that you invested and part of the income that your money might have generated. So these are called IDCW, monthly, weekly. Again, depending on the frequency, AMCs have created multiple variations of these liquid mutual funds so that you can decide based on your need which liquid mutual fund is better for your needs. Then comes my final point, which is on the taxation on liquid mutual funds. So it is pretty straightforward. All the returns or the incomes that you generate out of liquid mutual funds, they are taxed at your individual income tax slab rate. So for example, if you fall under 10% income tax slab rate, then you are going to pay 10% returns on the returns that you generate from liquid mutual funds. If it is 20%, it is 20%. So that is straightforward, and it is no different from savings bank account or fixed deposits, right? So we talked about liquid mutual funds outperforming the savings bank account interest rate, and from a taxation perspective, there is no big difference here. So in this video, I've given a lot of content to you about liquid mutual funds. My intent was to remain unbiased and give you all the facts in terms of liquidity, safety, returns, and many other aspects of liquid mutual funds. Hope you liked this video. If you did, press the like button. Let me know in the comments a simple thank you. It motivates me to bring such content to you at zero cost. Also, if you want to practically learn investing in various assets like mutual funds, ETFs, stocks, you can consider joining my YouTube community. On this community, almost on a daily basis, I post insights direct from the market as well as various concepts on assets. You are going to learn a lot. The feedback of this community has been excellent. Simply go to my channel, find the join button, and be my guest. With that, I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Until then, keep rocking.